This is Gir National Park in the western part of India. There are over 400 lions here, 500 leopards, and a host of other wild animals. All looked after by a dedicated wildlife management team. Last year, the team undertook over 600 animal rescues, almost 2 incidents a day. There is no busier wildlife rescue team in the world. Each day brings new, sometimes highly dangerous challenges. But there's something that makes this park unique. The forest guards darting the lions, confronting the leopards, wrestling with pythons, and nursing a great creche of baby animals are women. I've travelled to Gir to meet its extraordinary women foresters, the Lion Queens of India, who are creating history in this beautiful park. In the short time I've been here, I've seen these young foresters take on some incredibly daring missions. Amazing. While the 2 big cats, the Asiatic lion and the leopard, dominate the landscape of the majestic Gir forest, there are many more, often unexpected dangers lurking just around the corner. The rescue centre has received an SOS from a nearby village. We're told there's a python hiding in one of the farmers' houses, so we set off on this new mission. In less than half an hour, the team arrive at the village. Kishore, who sent the SOS, is waiting anxiously. He shows Rasila the boundary of his house where the reptile was hiding. But after the initial sighting, the snake seems to have disappeared. Kishore is apologetic now that the snake has disappeared, but Rasila doesn't want to take any chances. She and her young assistant, Jitu, begin a search of the nearby area. But after searching for almost half an hour, the snake is nowhere to be found. She decides to call off the search with a word of caution for Kishore. But then, suddenly, Rasila's keen eyes spot a slight movement in a crevice. Now, there's real tension in the air. This is not a relatively benign python, but instead, it's a lethally venomous Russell's viper. Rasila instructs the crowd of onlookers to move back. She hadn't come prepared to capture a deadly Russell's viper, so Jitu is sent back to the rescue centre to fetch an appropriate cage. As we wait for Jitu to return, Rasila's presence keeps the villagers calm. The Russell's viper is one of India's big 4 venomous snakes and is responsible for the highest number of human deaths due to snakebite in this part of the world. Once Jitu returns with a cage, they can start the dangerous operation. An old wall is a perfect hiding place for a snake. Rasila asks Jitu to loosen a few stones in the wall for easier access. Angry at being disturbed, the snake gives off a mighty hiss. It's extraordinarily loud and very intimidating. But it doesn't bother Rasila. She tries to get the viper out into the open so Jitu can put a noose around its neck. But that doesn't seem to work either. As Rasila removes some more stones from the wall, it collapses. The Russell's viper is now completely hidden. It's been over an hour now, and despite all of Rasila's efforts, the snake is still at large. And being so close to human habitation, a Russell's viper poses a serious threat, so Rasila simply cannot give up. She and Jitu start afresh. And at last, the snake is clearly visible. The viper has now become annoyed and shows typical aggressive behaviour, curling its body into a series of loops and hissing loudly. But despite all this effort, the reptile once again slithers away deep into the rocky wall. The temperature is soaring, the pressure is mounting. Can Rasila capture this deadly reptile? We arrived at this small village over an hour ago, hoping to catch a python from a farmer's house. Instead, it turned out to be a deadly Russell's viper. The viper is hiding in a crevice inside a stone wall and has so far resisted all attempts to capture it. Rasila can't leave such a venomous animal in the village, so she must try again. This is a seriously dangerous mission. Even the slightest error could end in tragedy. Once again, they try to nab the reptile in the noose. And this time, Jitu manages to get the noose around its neck. Rasila shouts at him to tighten it before the viper can slither out again. At last, they have it and can finally bring the snake out of its hiding place. Rasila is sweating with the effort and tension. There's one last problem. Before they can lock up the cage, they've got to get the noose off, and the viper's having none of it. It's a tricky manoeuvre, but eventually Rasila can safely lock the box. Despite everything, Rasila still puts the snake's well-being first. She immediately goes to collect some water to ensure the reptile doesn't overheat. A quick splash of water on her own face, and she can breathe easy once more. Relieved villagers thank her for her efforts, and tea is brought out for the entire rescue team. Then the curious onlookers muster up courage to have a peek at the captured viper. But Rasila doesn't linger too long. She's concerned that the viper may be in some distress due to the heat and the capture. She wants to release it in a safe spot as soon as possible. Without waiting for the rescue van to arrive, she instructs Jitu to cover the cage and hop on the back seat of her bike. Now, I'm not sure I'd fancy riding pillion with a deadly Russell's viper on my lap. She quickly drives to the nearby forest. And carefully, the cage is opened and the viper released back into the wild. Another rescue operation successfully concluded, and Rasila heads back to the rescue centre, where awaiting her return is a very special ward. A tiny lion cub, Millie. This little cub was found abandoned in the forest when it was barely a few days old, and it was very sick. Often, a lioness will abandon weak or sick cubs. It's the law of the jungle, where only the fittest survive. A weak and sickly cub is a liability for the entire pride. The mother would rather spend her energy rearing cubs who have a good chance of surviving in the unforgiving jungle environment. Rasila found this female cub in a pitiful condition. She named it Millie, meaning found. Millie has been under Rasila's care for some weeks now and has responded well. Once she's fully recovered, Rasila will try to reunite Millie with its mother and the rest of the pride. It will be a difficult mission. The team will try to track down the lioness believed to be the cub's mother. They'll then take the cub to her and hope that the now healthy cub will be accepted back into the pride.
उसकी मदर का लोकेशन होगा तो ये बच्चा हम छोटे केज में लेके जाएंगे, वहाँ पे रखेंगे. उसकी मदर को पता चलेगा कि मेरा बच्चा है और वहाँ पे रुकेगी, तो पता चल जाएगा कि यही बच्चा और यही माँ है, तो उसको वहाँ हम रिलीज कर देंगे. बच्चा बोलेगा और उसकी मदर वहाँ कहीं पे जाएगी नहीं, उसको ही वो देखेंगे.
For now, the frisky little cub is quite happy playing around in the special enclosure provided for her at the rescue centre. At any given time, the women foresters are nursing a considerable creche of baby animals, lion cubs, leopard cubs, and even an occasional baby crocodile. Kiran is with the young lioness Lakshmi, who recently gave birth to 5 cubs.
Is it unusual to have 5 cubs?
बहुत ही रेयर केस है ऐसा, तो international news.
Normally, how many cubs?
Normal 3 cubs. 5 cubs दिए and 5 ने survive किया,
The first year of their lives is the most crucial time for the lion cubs, and not many survive. On average, Gir welcomes the arrival of around 80 cubs each year. But last year, there were over 100. Even more significantly, a greater number of these cubs are surviving to adulthood. In the past, a weak and sickly cub like Millie would have had no chance of surviving once abandoned by its mother. But the care provided by the rescue team has increased the chances of survival for many animals here in Gir. Darshna is setting out on night patrol, one of the most challenging tasks for the foresters. What danger awaits her tonight? Having seen Rasila successfully capture a deadly Russell's viper, I now head off to experience an adventure of another kind. As we drive through the forest to meet up with Darshna, we pass through small human settlements. These hamlets, called Ness, belong to a local tribe of herdsmen called the Maldaris. The word Maldari literally means owner of goods, and goods in this case means cattle. These communities have lived within the Gir area for centuries and have coexisted peacefully alongside the lions. While many of them have been relocated outside the Gir sanctuary, a sizable number still live amongst the lions and the other dangerous animals. They have a very simple lifestyle. Their small huts are without electricity or all the other amenities that we take for granted. But their support and cooperation has been crucial in the efforts to conserve the Asiatic lion.
When we talk about the conservation of the Asiatic lion, it's a huge landscape, and very important aspect of, landscape management is, involvement of the local people. And it is said the Gir, the success story of, Asiatic lion conservation is, the involvement of the local people.
Because of this local support, the number of poaching incidents reported in Gir is very low. The only major incident in recent times involved a gang who tried to hunt down a type of deer. It took place in Manisha Vaghela's beat. This spunky young forester took on an armed gang of 11 poachers. As she drives me to the area where it all happened, Manisha tells me her story. She was on night patrol when she spotted the poachers. It was her territory. Manisha knew a shorter route.
We bike लेकर गए. The poacher is stopped.
She managed to nab one of them while the rest ran off. But when they questioned him, they managed to get the names of the others, and eventually the entire gang was nabbed. Wildlife poaching may not be a big threat in Gir. Smuggling valuable teak wood is. The forest guards have to be ever vigilant to this threat. Armed with double-barreled shotguns, the women foresters regularly patrol their beats on the lookout for any illegal activity. This can be a dangerous job, made considerably more difficult once darkness falls. And tonight, it's Darshna who must face up to the challenge. One of 8 sisters born to a poor farming family, this shy young woman is now shouldering the burden of looking after her whole family. She's already been promoted from being a forest guard to a forester, and the extra income and the position are a matter of great pride to her and her family. Initially reluctant to let his daughter step out of the house, today Darshna's father is an extremely happy and proud man.
हमारी कास्ट में वो बहुत सपोर्टेड लोग नहीं हैं और हमारी कास्ट में ऐसा मानना होता है कि बेटियों को ज़्यादा पढ़ाते नहीं. तो मेरे पापा ऐसे बोल रहे थे कि बेटियों को क्या पढ़ाना, शादी ब्याह करके ससुराल ही भेज देना है. लेकिन मेरी मम्मी ने लास्ट तक सपोर्ट किया कि नहीं, मुझे पढ़ाना है. मैं फॉरेस्टर बन गई और वो जब मुझे वर्दी में देखते हैं तो मम्मी पापा और सभी जो मेरी सिस्टर हैं बहुत खुश होते हैं.
She's fulfilling all the traditional duties of a son now. And that shy exterior hides a steely resolve and a will to succeed.
For some of the women foresters, sunset signals the start of one of their most challenging jobs.
The night patrol. There are the dangerous animals to contend with, as well as the possibility of poachers or teak smugglers. Darshna is cautious as she makes her rounds. In one of the stretches, she hears some unusual sounds as well as human voices. She stops to investigate. Could it be smugglers trying to hack down some trees or something even more sinister? She calls out, but gets no response. Darshna calls up the control room.
મોહમ્મદ ભાઈ કંટ્રોલ આ બાજુથી કોઈ નીકળું તું મોહમ્મદ ભાઈ
કઈ બાજુ છો બેન
આ પારવિયા બાજુ છું
માલધારી બે ભેગા છે તો હમણાં ઈ નેસ લાઈન ઉપર બેન
માલધારી હતા
She's told there's a small Maldari settlement not far off. She realises the sound she heard must have been some of the Maldaris returning home to their village. It's a false alarm. Panic over, Darshna carries on with her patrol. As she disappears into the night, I'm yet again left marvelling at the bravery of the Lion Queens. I learn about the legend of the Charan Kanya. And Rasila must dart an injured lioness before her maggot-infected wound proves fatal.